Hi, welcome to Coffee Break with Researchers. Today I'm having a coffee break with Charles Edquist. He's a professor and senior researcher in innovation studies at Circle and at the Division of Innovation Engineering at Lund University.
Coffee Break with Researchers presents you with cutting-edge insights on regional development and innovation. We ask researchers directly and in a personal manner about their work. We make scientific knowledge accessible to all.
Charles, it's an honor for me to have you here today at Coffee Break. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite fine.
I highly enjoying my Colombian black coffee today. Are you having any coffee?
Yeah, I have had coffee today, and the coffee I enjoy most is actually café con leche, as they do it in southern Spain. I hope you don't mind.
I love that coffee too, I have to confess. Charles, I want to talk with you today about a very influential paper you wrote, the one called Towards a Holistic Innovation Policy. Could you please tell us what the paper was about?
The paper is about how innovation policy is, the design of innovation policy is organized in Sweden. And it is based on a theory called the Systems of Innovation approach, which we can talk about later. And the politicians, they gradually understood how important innovations is for society. So first they wanted to deal with innovation policy as a part of research policy, but it did not work. So therefore the Prime Minister himself, Stefan Löfven, he created this National Innovation Council. Except for the chairman, there are four other ministers and 10 external advisors in the council, and I am one of the advisors, which means that the paper is partly a participant or observation kind of paper, like the anthropologist write.
I understand that one of the reasons why this paper became so influential is because of the notion of systems of innovation. Could you please give us a definition of this?
There are many definitions of systems of innovation, so I will give you mine. It is very simple. I define system of innovation as all determinants that influences innovation processes. All determinants, because in other definitions, various researchers, they deal only with some of the determinants or the causes of innovation processes. This systems of innovation approach actually was developed in the early 1990s, and it replaced something called the linear view. And that is completely out of mode this day, because we realized that it was wrong. And the systems of innovation approach has been very influential and successful. And one indication of that is that if you go into Google and write system of innovation within quotation marks, you will get 15 million hits. And that's really incredible.
I can imagine that. I tried myself after you suggested it, and it's true. It's incredible. So I wanted to talk about the findings of the paper, and why do you think this was so important after it was released?
Yeah, findings are one, that innovation policy in Sweden during these 5 or 7 years has become more holistic. It has taken more and more determinants into account when creating the policy. Second conclusion is that this innovation councils had an important role in the transition towards a holistic innovation policy in Sweden. And also the conceptual advancements played a role in the changes in the Swedish innovation policy, like systems of innovation, like additionality and some other notions. And finally, the fourth conclusion in the paper is that the Swedish National Innovation Council can be a role model for other countries. And it has actually happened. In France they have created an innovation council also, and that was based on the experience of the Swedish one. There are discussions in several other countries about creating a similar kind of innovation council.
And I'm very, very interested also in knowing more about your personal experience, not only in writing this paper, but also in the whole process, which I understand was very, very insightful and interesting for you. Could you please tell us something about that?
It's a long story, of course, so I give you just a small piece of it. I have been dealing with innovation all the time since I was a student, and I realized at that time the importance of innovation for society, for societal development. And for example, innovations or technology has destroyed much of our environment, and now we're trying to reverse this and get help from innovation to save the environment and climate. And this is a matter of political questions. And then when I got a chance to be a member of this Innovation Council, I came very close to the actual decision makers, and it was extremely stimulating to partly understand how the relations between politicians, policymakers, and researchers actually works or not works.
So finally, I want to ask you about the policy implications, which for this paper are incredibly important. And although you had policymakers in front of you, now imagine that you have policymakers from around the world watching you. What would you say to them? What are the policy implications of your paper?
First, I want to say that actually innovation research is ahead of innovation policy in the thinking about how to influence innovation processes. The politicians, they are still thinking very much in linear terms, believing that research is the main determinant of innovation. It is one determinant of innovation, but there are many others. I usually talk about 10 different determinants of innovation. So in this sense, innovation research can be very helpful for political processes and for processes that influence innovations. And just a very short example of that is that we wrote a book, Susanna Buras and myself wrote a book called Holistic Innovation Policy. It came out some time ago, and we just learned that it has been translated into Chinese. And this is just an indication that the Chinese, they really know, the Chinese leadership, they really know that their progress has been very much thanks to innovation policies, and they want to absorb everything they can that deals with innovation processes and innovation policy.
Wow, that's a great experience, and thank you for all your insights, and again for that paper, which I'm sure will continue to be highly influential. And thank you once again, Charles, for your time. Those were all my questions, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you soon in a coffee break. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested in more details about this academic publication, you can find here the link below. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. or listen to our podcast on Spotify. See you next time. Bye bye.